So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to begin. Thank you so much for attending this evening. And it's so great to be back at the Sheraton Hotel after 18 months. So thanks so much for coming. Just a reminder of safety protocols that we are obligated to adhere to. Number one, a detailed health and safety plan for the event was placed on our Surrey Board of Trade website, businessinsurrey.com. It was sent to you. It was sent to all of the attendees. We are adhering to strict health and safety protocols in accordance with provincial government guidelines. And I want the candidates to be comfortable. I want you to be comfortable, as well as the staff that are working here today. So it's our first in-person event, and we're just so excited to do that this evening. Just a reminder that all attendees, candidates as well, all media and staff, you must wear a mask for the duration of the event. Candidates, you can take off your mask when speaking at the microphone. Your timing will begin when you begin speaking. After your microphone cover, every candidate is given an individual microphone cover. So you put that on the microphone, and then your timing will begin. And you can take your mask off after the microphone cover is on the microphone. Clear? Good. And just a reminder, at the end of the event, there is no mingling. And you can't leave your seat to talk to someone because the police here is going to come and separate you. But I really appreciate your respect and your cooperation with adhering to these health and safety guidelines. So again, thank you so much for attending tonight's 2021 federal election Surrey Candidates Dialogue in preparation for the September 20th vote. I'm Anita Huberman. I'm President and CEO of the Surrey Board of Trade and your moderator for tonight. The Surrey Board of Trade is so pleased to co-host tonight's event with our long-standing partner, the South Asian Business Association, otherwise known as SABA. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you to our presenting sponsor, the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board. And our media sponsor, the Surrey Now Leader newspaper. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are on the land, the ceded territory of the Tsawwassen First Nations and the unceded territory of our Coast Salish people, specifically the Kwantlen Katzie Semiahmoo, and we acknowledge that we live and work on the land of the Inuit and Métis peoples. I'd also like to have a brief moment of silence before we begin. We recognize these past 18 months have been so challenging for all of us during the COVID-19 pandemic, but we're also losing lives to the opioid crisis. We also recognize the children that we historically lost for the residential school situation that emerged earlier this year and that continues to be at the forefront of our minds and just so tragic in our history for our nation. So if you will, just a moment of silence for those that have been lost today and also historically. Thank you. I'd like to recognize some special guests that are in the audience today. Our City of Surrey Councillor Brenda Locke. Thank you so much for attending. And we also have some Surrey Board of Trade board directors. Our board chair, our new board chair, Mr. Belgie Dhaliwal. And we have other guests on their way as well. from our Board of Directors. The Surrey Board of Trade, we're a nonpartisan business organization. Our role is to instigate change at every level of government. The Surrey Board of Trade hosts these dialogues during every single election period because we want to know what our candidates are going to do for us, not only federally, as we're going to hear today, but also provincially and locally. We've been in Surrey for over 100 years. We're part of a 500-year-old global industry. There's a Chamber of Commerce, Board of Trade in every city all over this world, and our industry cannot be ignored. The Surrey Board of Trade believes that voting is a privilege. Voting connects citizens with their political process, and we know our partner, the South Asian Business Association, also believes in this philosophy. The simple act of marking a ballot tells our leaders what we think about their decisions that affect our everyday lives, our businesses that we run. By respectfully agreeing or disagreeing with our leaders, we show that the political system can accept differing points of view, and we can resolve them respectfully. And as Canadians, we must be role models. As elected officials, as political candidates, we must be role models for the rest of the world. So we encourage you, both the Surrey Board of Trade and the South Asian Business Association, to participate in democracy. Vote on September 20th. Advance voting begins this Friday. The English leaders debate is tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. The French leaders debate is taking place very shortly tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is an important election for our economy, locally and globally, as we face significant healthcare issues related to the COVID-19 pandemic, the opioid crisis, and from our perspective, from an economic and business perspective, according to our labor market intelligence report since March 2020, 1 in 25 businesses have shut down in Surrey. Failure is not an option as we move this economy forward. And I know as it relates to both the residential and the commercial housing sector, failure is not an option as we ensure that our future generations, our youth today, can get into the housing market. And so I'm so pleased to invite forward our sponsor representative from the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board to come forward to say a few words, Narinder Baines. Narinder?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Narinder Baines. I represent the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board, and I'm here with my fellow realtors, Jeff Chedda, Sid Sidhu, Gertage Gill. The Fraser Valley Real Estate Board represents over 4,000 realtors throughout the 7 communities south of the Fraser River, including Abbotsford, Mission, Langley City, Langley Township, North Delta, Surrey, and White Rock. Next month, the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board will be celebrating a centennial. For 100 years, our members have played a vital role to help build strong and vibrant communities. Here in Surrey, we work in tandem with our local public and private sector counterparts to guide, advise, and protect families and individuals in one of the biggest decisions of their lives, that's buying a home. The past 18 months have been very difficult, challenging time for all of us, with disruptions to our normal routine and ways of life. While we're slowly finding some normalcy, we're not out of the woods yet. The home buying public has been challenged by a volatile market driven by a series of factors, including sharp rise in importance and prominence of home in our daily lives, combined with severe supply shortage, and more people look to age or renovate instead of purchase new homes. This has placed extreme upward pressure on housing prices, in turn threatening to put the dream of home ownership out of reach for hundreds of thousands of citizens. Housing affordability and supply are among the most critical issues we face across the entire country. In fact, that's probably one of the only common platforms all parties could agree on. While we acknowledge that there are no easy fixes, we urge the federal government to find the will and capital to work closely with provincial, municipal counterparts to expedite solutions across the nation before we reach crisis situation. With thousands of members on front lines of this issue, connecting with buyers and sellers every single day, the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board understands and needs the challenges Canadians face when it comes to basic right, which is shelter. We are ready, willing, and able, along with our provincial and national counterparts, to collaborate with policymakers and public officials to secure that right for every Canadian. We thank the Surrey Board of Trade for the opportunity to dialogue with our elected officials on behalf of their constituents, and we look forward to fruitful partnership moving forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Narinder, and thank you to the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board. In all of my 28 years that I've been with the Surrey Board of Trade, the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board has always been a partner in our all-candidate debates for every single election that we've had locally, provincially, federally. And now, please help me welcome our partner representative from the South Asian Business Association, Mr. Balwinder Shahal.
Thank you, Anita. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. On behalf of South Asian Business Association, I would like to welcome you all for sparing your time to attend this dialogue. As Anita has already told, on an unceded territory of First Nations. Thanks to Surrey Board of Trade, who has always invited and participated with us in providing such platforms. We all are here, not the candidates, I'm addressing you people. We all are here to fulfill our solemn responsibility of participation in the democratic process. It is our level of interest which will determine the quality of governance and accountability of the people we elect. To the candidates, you need an uncanny perseverance and lot of courage to put your name on the ballot paper. They say, if you are not sure of your ancestry or has forgotten about all the tweets, wittingly or unwittingly, you put on the net, stand in an election, your opponents will dig it and publish it for you. We all have passed through challenging times. In the last 20 months, best and worst of human behavior has been manifested. We are still not out of woods. Social, economic, environmental, national reconciliation, and medical issues demand new approach, new thinking. We do not expect words like love, compassion, respect to be part of any political manifesto. But there has to be a spirit behind a body of political words and actions. This critical juncture of human history demands pragmatic approach and accountability for our leaders so that we live and grow in happy times and leave behind a better world for our coming generations, or be prepared to perish together. I think I'm going too far. Our leaders are not here to listen to us. They are here to tell us their role and goals. So I again acknowledge all you people and all the candidates who have spared their time to share your views with us. One thing I like to say in the closing, I have my friends here, our directors. I can see our President JT, Ken, Lakhvinder, Ravi. If I'm missing something, Gurjinder was also to be here. So we are here to listen to them. So my time is up. So with respect, all over to you. Anita will guide you through. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Belwinder, and so nice to see you in person this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, the MP candidates for this evening will be responding to questions that we've gathered from our members, some from the public, and many from our policy teams at the Surrey Board of Trade. And given the tight time frame that we have, and to ensure that you understand the perspectives of each of the candidates, we've collated them into broad-based issues. Unfortunately, some candidates were unable to be with us this evening for a variety of reasons, but I'm sure the candidates that are present this evening are going to ensure that they give you their perspective on what we need from our federal government and the future of our economy. I just want to remind candidates that you should limit your responses to highlight your thoughts and policies as it relates to the questions versus going after or attacking each other. We won't tolerate that here at the Surrey Board of Trade. We want to focus on what you're going to do on a variety of issues. So let's focus on that this evening. During the debates, candidates, you will have the opportunity to speak for 1 minute to answer each question. And as I mentioned, your timing will begin. Your timer is Jazroob Gosal, and he's going to start your timing after your microphone cover is on. And when you start speaking, that's when your timing will begin. Now, all of you were given a card with a letter and a number on it that represents your riding, that represents the party that you're representing. We're going to be ensuring there's a random order to make sure to the attendees and to the public. We're recording tonight's session as well, just to ensure fairness for everyone, that no one knows on stage what the questions are. And as we go through each cycle, as I announce who goes to the microphone, they have no idea what the questions are. And they're all going to be in random order, so to ensure fairness. So the timekeeper is going to hold up a yellow folder indicating 15 seconds remaining. When your time is up, our timekeeper will hold up a red folder, and you will have your microphone muted. That's right, muted. And attendees, I'm going to ask you not to disturb the timer at any time during the program. You can applaud, but you want to minimize your applause as well. We want to get through as many questions as possible. And after all questions have been answered, then we're going to give every candidate 1 minute to provide concluding remarks. There'll be no audience participation. Only the candidates and myself will be able to speak to ensure health and safety protocols. And as Belwinder mentioned, it's not an easy job to run for a political office. It takes great courage to run for a political office. You're being pulled in so many different directions. So we just, on behalf of the Surrey Board of Trade and the South Asian Business Association, thank you for each of you for having that courage. And let's give them a round of applause, please. All right, so let's begin. We're right on time. So we're going to begin with having all of the candidates give a 1 minute introduction. And I'm going to ask you, while you're giving your introduction, our attendees through social media, it's going to be on our YouTube channel, what do you think your job description is as a member of Parliament? Why did you run in this election? How will you be accountable, transparent, and accessible to Surrey constituents and to the constituents that you are going to represent if elected? So transparable, accessible, and accountable. So think about those things in your introductory and concluding remarks. So we're going to begin with all the candidates with the number 1. Please proceed to the microphone. And put your microphone cover on. And then take your mask off, beginning with microphone 1. Tina. Go ahead.
I'm Tina Baines. I'm the Conservative candidate for the riding of Surrey Centre. And the reason why I'm running for this position is the pandemic and also the previous election. I had a few issues that I really want to sit at the policy table and contribute towards the betterment of Canada. I've risen above everyday issues and matters. What's important to me is to sit on the policy table and make for a good policy that, is good for our children in the coming generations and just not leave them with debt to pay the taxes off all the time, but also make good policies on the table. And that is my motivation for running. I have worked for the government of BC for 25 years, so personal motivation in terms of finding a job is not the reason why I'm here. I'm here to serve the public and give back to Canada that provided me all the opportunities to, flourish as a person and as a single parent.
Microphone 2, Randeep.
Thank you. I ran, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a lawyer and a small business person. My first home was bought here in Surrey. And my goal and thing that I saw most was that Surrey wasn't getting its fair share. For 35 years, Surrey Centre has had NDP members of parliament, Conservative members of parliament, but it never got its fair share of infrastructure, whether that's government services, whether that's fixed rail SkyTrain, or whether that is post-secondary education institutes. My commitment was always to bring Surrey its fair share, whether that was $1.3 billion for SkyTrain, Surrey's new Simon Fraser University's Engineering and Sustainable Energy Building, Veterans Affairs Centre, or our most recent announcement, the Regional Development Agency for Surrey, for British Columbia, a $550 million project. And that's why I'm running. I want to be accessible. I'm here every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for our people. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, microphone 3.
Hello, my name is Perry Jr. and I'm a candidate in Fleetwood Port Kells for the Green Party. And I must say I'm probably one of the most unpolitician people up here. I treat it as a job. I work for you guys. I work to get the job done. And I bring my background. I have 20 years of experience in accounting as a certified general accountant, mainly working with small to medium, large businesses in public practice, as well as real estate firms and legal firms doing trust audits. I also bring 20 years of coaching experience. My degree is in phys ed and coaching, and working together with people. The Green Party is well known for that. That's what I bring as well to the table. And everything basically related to health because of this degree is why I'm running, and because everything affects health.
Thank you so much. So put your mask on and take your microphone covers, and you can take a seat. And after they're seated, we're going to go to the candidates with the number 2. Please proceed to the microphone. Put your covers on, take your mask off when you begin speaking. And we'll begin with microphone 1. Syed.
Good evening. My name is Syed Mohsin. I'm the Conservative candidate from Surrey Newton. I should be nervous because this is the first time I'm running, but actually I'm not nervous. I'm worried. Worried about our economy, worried about our small business people, because I'm a small business person. So I understand the difficult time that we are going through. It is not time for politics. It is time to work together to make sure that we get our economy back and we restore all the jobs that we have lost. Thank you.
Microphone 2, Ken.
Thank you. My name is Ken Hardy. I'd like to thank all of you for being here tonight and taking part in this process because it is so important. I got involved in politics after a career in broadcasting and then a career in public service, mainly in communication and issues management at ICBC and TransLink. Learned a few things along the way about what's important to people. And what's important to people is to have a politician who's prepared to stand up, work for them, solve their issues, and take what's important to them back to government. And this is something that I've been up to for 6 years. It's been a tremendously rewarding experience. This country has a unique character, and I hope that in some of the answers that we get from the candidates tonight, you'll get an idea as to what kind of character each party has, because this is a big decision we're about to make.
Microphone 3.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is Felix Kongdui. First of all, the most important job that I have is I'm a father. I am the founder of Baobab Inclusive Empowerment Society, and I have been working in this community for a very long time with youth, with children, with families, with persons with disabilities, with seniors, and as well, I'm a small business person. The reason why I'm running is actually because I think that we need more collaboration in Ottawa. We need to definitely work together. I am someone who has brought people together. I have been doing this for so many, many years. And I am here because actually we have this unique opportunity here in Canada. And this is something that I am very, very proud of. And I'm excited to be here and to exchange those ideas. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You can take off your microphone covers, take your seat, and we will proceed with the candidates with the number 3 to the microphones, please. Put your microphone covers on. And we'll proceed with microphone 1, Dave.
Thank you very much, Anita. Thank you very much, Surrey Board of Trade, Saba, and all the members that are here and the sponsors. Thank you for taking the time away from your family and business and work to coming and listening to the politicians from all different parties. I have lived in Surrey since 1972. I was almost 14-year-old. When I moved to Surrey, it was a much different city, not very diverse city. Over the time, I have seen it grow. I live in a Fleetwood area. My kids all went to elementary school in Fleetwood area and high school, and when they were going to university, they also lived in here. And when I was growing up here, I served in many community organizations, including Surrey Board of Trade as the chair of Surrey Board of Trade from 1996-97, and Surrey Crime Prevention Society, along with many other organizations, because I wanted to give back to the community. And I'm here to listen to you, provide support to you, just like I did when I was MLA. One of the things was accessibility. I had the monthly coffee meetings. Anybody could come in to talk to me, including my cell phone number, my business card. You could call to me. Thank you very much.
Microphone 2, Suk.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you again for all of you, and particularly Anita, yourself, and the Saba. Besides being a member of Parliament most of the last 15 years, being a professional engineer as well as a land surveyor, I'm a small business person in Surrey Newton and employ 20 people. Most importantly, I'm one of your neighbors for almost over 2 decades, raised my young family here, my elderly parents lived with me. And I also worked with all orders of government over the last 2 decades. My friends can witness that my constituency of Surrey Newton is the busiest constituency office in all of Canada. My cell phone, accessible to everyone, doesn't matter where people live, whether they supported me, our office has always been there, accessible and
Thank you. And we will conclude the introductory remarks with Tamara Jensen. Please proceed to a microphone with your cover on. Oh, Dave, you have to take your cover off. Thank you. And you can begin when you're ready.
Well, thank you very much, Anita. I really appreciate that you put this together. I was shocked when you said that this was the first event that you're having here. I'm Tamera Janssen from the Cloverdale-Langley City riding. Been your MP since 2019, and I was started as a small business, a farmer, and I I ran because I was concerned about ensuring that, some of the red tape and the challenges that small businesses face because of the things that government do could be worked on. And so, of course, during COVID, it's been amazing to see how much struggle all of the small businesses have had, especially the hospitality industry. So I've been very thankful to be able to be at the different tables. I've been on the health committee, I've been at the finance committee, trying to work on behalf of small businesses to ensure that they're going to be able to make it to the end of COVID. And our Canada Recovery Plan is very exciting. It has all kinds of great ways that we're going to make sure you do better.
Thank you so much for your introductory remarks, all candidates. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go right into the questions. And I'm going to call a letter. And if you hear your letter, then you will proceed to the microphone. And we'll go the same way, microphone 1, 2, and 3. So my first question for those that are candidates A, B, and C, if you can proceed to the microphone. A1. C1 as well, A, B, and C1. Thank you. So my question to you is, with the pandemic, what is your party's perspective on reducing the federal deficit? Microphone 1.
Canada's Conservatives, if they form the government, have a recovery plan in place, which has been costed as of today. It's been released. It's totally costed, and they are going to reduce the debt from 58, sorry if I go wrong in the quoting the numbers, $158 billion to $25 billion by the year 2025 and 26. This is without cut to services. Services will remain as is, and they're going to find these savings and do the debt reduction. So that is what we've learned from the pandemic, is that our economy is not in the greatest shape, considering we're a G7 country and not doing well. So we need to kickstart, and Conservatives are just ready to roll if they form the government. Thank you.
Thank you. Microphone 2.
Thank you. Our strategy for this is, first of all, we are in a great economy. We have a AAA credit rating, and we have a projected growth this year of 6%, which is one of the highest in the G20. Our goal is to tax the banks a little bit more, as they've made a lot of money in the last 18 months and before. So all those that are earning more than $1 billion will have 3% in additional taxation on the income they produce, because we feel they can pay that and they can afford that. In addition, those tech giants like Amazon, Netflix, and others that haven't been paying their fair share of taxes, will be taxing them. And I think that dividend will help with the recovery, help reduce the debt, and will make this country flourish a lot more. Lastly, our goal is to increase the pie, increase the GDP, get 1 million more people working, and thus the economy will be growing larger and therefore paying the debt off quicker and increasing our GDP at the same time.
Thank you. Microphone 3.
Our platform, Green Party platform, just came out this week, and you're welcome to read it. It's over 100 pages long, and I don't pretend to memorize any of it, just like I didn't pretend to memorize all the Income Tax Act or any of the other acts. To me, forming policy takes time and research, and no policy, no matter what the party is out of limits. Green Party work together to find the best policy, the best practices, and that can't be done on the spot, okay? We have to research, we have to find the best practices, work together with other parties, whoever's policy is best. It doesn't have to be the Green Party. We work together to find the best policy, doing our research, and then we act on it. The key part is acting on things instead of letting things go by time. We need to act on things and get it going. The Green Party obviously wants to work together to get more green initiatives, more things really, the environment, and transition people that way.
Thank you so much. You may be seated. And group number 2 is next. Please proceed to the microphone. You're doing well, all of you candidates. following the instructions. Thank you so much. Okay, our next question is from our sponsor, the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board, and of course, it is about housing. The Canada-BC Expert Panel on the Future of Housing Supply and Affordability released their report in June of this year. How is your party, yourself as a candidate, going to work towards implementing the report's recommendations, such as making new infrastructure investments conditional on official community plans, zoning bylaws, other local policies to allow for increased density and a mix of housing types? Does your party commit to a roundtable of different partners, including the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board, commercial developers, real estate professionals, boards of trades, chambers of commerce, to address the housing crisis that we are in, not only in British Columbia, but across Canada? Microphone 1.
This is certainly one of the biggest problems we are going through in this, at this time. And our commitment is very simple. We will build 1 million homes all across Canada. And we think by encouraging people to invest more into small businesses will create opportunity to build homes. And like you said, we'll definitely work with all the partners, including all the real estate partners that we have all across the country, to come together, and we'll listen to their advice, and hopefully together we can resolve this problem, because this is seriously a big problem. And as I say, it's a matter of demand and supply. So the more supply we have, I think, is going to bring down the price. And we are also strict about having foreign investors. So we'll make sure that if they invest in houses in this country, they actually live there. We don't allow them to rent houses. So we'll work together.
Microphone 2.
Much of what Anita has asked about, of course, is in the realm of the province and the municipality. You know, things like land use planning, zoning, etc. But as a member of the Standing Committee on Transport in the Parliament, the 42nd Parliament, I wanted to make having an official community plan and adherence to it conditional in terms of, you know, providing federal money for things like public transit and some of the other infrastructure that we need. Our government is really committed to dealing with the distortions that are appearing in our real estate market. Stupid money coming in to hide has been bidding up the cost of real estate. Real estate, land, buildings, sitting empty. This is not good enough. Our government is going to crack down on that and provide the kind of background that the municipalities need to increase that supply and obviously have more places for people to live.
Thank you. Microphone 3.
Yeah. Hello? Yeah, thank you. As for the Green Party, I think this, we all know that this is an old problem that has been around for close to more than 30 years. This is a problem that has been here. We've tried all the different parties in the area, yet nothing has changed. I think it's time to give the Green Party a chance, because we think that actually that housing is a human right. This is what we're going to do. We're going to crack down on the money that is flooding the housing in our area. We are going to work on definitely building more co-op housing, which is highly needed. We are going to work closely with the municipality, because this is a problem that they know very well how to resolve. This is a problem that actually working closely with the municipalities we can fix, and that has been a missing piece in this whole discussion.
Thank you. You may be seated, and group number 3, please approach the microphones. Put your covers on. And Tamara will actually have you proceed to microphone 3. Yes. So candidates, my question to you is, how is your party going to support small and medium-sized businesses? 98% of Canada's economy are SMEs, and there are 2 alarming facts about small and medium-sized enterprises in Canada: productivity growth as well as access to capital, access to financing to expand. What is your party going to do to support these small and medium-sized businesses? Microphone 1.
Thank you very much, Anita. That's a very important question because we can only succeed if the economy is strong. If the economy is strong, we have a lot of jobs available, government makes money. And small businesses, the backbone of our economy, they create most jobs. And our government is a friend with the small businesses. We have said we want to make sure access available to them for the loans. We also want to give them more loans, up to 200,000 loans available for small businesses. Currently, you can get about $60,000. Also, we want to work with all the Chamber of Commerce, Board of Trade, small businesses to find out what else they need. Because without having their knowledge, their expertise, we can't do it. So we want to make sure that tax rate is lower, red tape is reduced, and sadly enough, if you take a look, last 6 years, even before the recession, before the COVID-19 economy was starting going down, right now Canada's economy is almost at a recession, while the G7 economy is the top other than Canada. Thank you.
Microphone 2.
Thank you. Being a small business person and sitting on an international trade committee along with my friend Randeep Sarai, we have opened opportunity. We signed free trade with many, many nations over the last little while. We went through NAFTA to make sure that the small businesses are able to excel on an international scene. And particularly when it comes to women empowerment, we are going to put funding into the programs that will help women entrepreneurs to succeed in the coming years. But at the same time, we will also invest in green technologies because knowledge-based economy is the only way Canadians can succeed, and that is where our focus is, to make sure young people and small businesses are able to succeed. And most importantly, 9% tax rate for small businesses brought by.
Thank you. Microphone 3.
So the Conservatives have something that they called Rebuild Main Street. We do know, we heard at Finance Committee that many small businesses took on a minimum of $170,000 of new debt over the pandemic. So in our Rebuild Main Street plan, we are, as was mentioned, going to ensure that rather than just $60,000 being available, there's actually $200,000 in loans available to small businesses, of which 25%, I think it's 25% can be forgivable depending on the loss of revenue. And we also know there's a huge labor shortage. Many small businesses cannot find workers. So we want to get workers back to work. How are we going to do that? We're going to be offering, as the queues gets running down, we're going to be making sure that we give 6 months worth of 50% of the salary paid, as well as if someone hasn't been working for 6 months, then they will actually get 50% of that salary paid. So we're getting people back to work.
Thank you so much. And group number 3, you can be seated. Take off your microphone cover, and we're going to go back to group number 1. Please proceed to your microphones. One of the most important things to the Surrey Board of Trade and to the business community is we do not like paying more taxes. So tell me what your party's perspective is on a comprehensive tax reform of the federal taxation system. Microphone 1.
Conservatives, if they form government, are ready to roll with the structure being rolled back. Considering, I mean, there has been a lot of upheaval in terms with businesses, everything's gone haywire in terms of the taxation system. Yes, definitely there'll be taxation reform, but the final figures, when we sit on the table, we will be able to roll those out. But definitely tax reform is very much on the cards, and right, businesses can expect rollback in taxations, personal taxations they'll be rolled back, and incentives of all kinds will be provided.
Thank you very much. Microphone 2.
Sure. I think we have a proud record from 2015. We took a 12% small business tax rate down to 9%, 1% every single year. We decreased it. We also decreased it on small, medium incomes while raising on the top 1%. And again, our next phase is to tax the top elite banks that make, and insurance companies that make over $1 billion in profit a year, 3% more, therefore taking the burden off small businesses. And yes, we'd be open to looking at a reform of taxation to make it simpler, make it easier, and make it more helpful for those small businesses, as we have been there for them in the pandemic, helping them with either small business loans of $40,000 to $60,000, $20,000 forgivable, giving them 75% in wage subsidies, and helping them on their mortgages or rents of their businesses. We've been there for them in the past. We'll be there for them in the future.
Thank you. Microphone 3.
Taxation is something that I'm very familiar with, working in the business of it for 20 years. What we do to make it more, I guess, equitable for all people is communicate with them, communicate with the experts who are now in the field, communicate with businesses to find out the best ways of doing things, looking at what other parties are offering as well. We need to find the best way of doing things, not just make up things and hope it works out. We need to find ways of making the economy go, as well as balancing the budget eventually. We've spent a lot this past year, 18 months type of thing, and we need to tax appropriately.
Thank you so much. You may be seated, and we'll proceed to group number 2. So your question is really related to the pandemic. And as we face the fall of 2021, maybe into 2022 with the pandemic, what kind of support measures do you think businesses need? What are the hardest hit industries that your party, yourself, are going to support moving forward? Microphone 1.
I'm a small business owner, and I understand the hardship that we went through during this pandemic. It is essential to empower the small business owners. We will be providing incentives to the people who are wealthy, who have money, to make sure that they invest in local businesses, to make sure that they invest in small businesses. I believe small businesses are the area where we generate a lot of employments, and if we want our economy to grow back, if we want our economy to be restored, we have to have support towards the small business people. Thank you.
Microphone 2.
I think the biggest thing that the Liberals did to support business, large and small, was get vaccines, and get vaccines into people's arms in record numbers across Canada. The only thing holding us back right now are the unvaccinated, who represent 75% of the fourth wave. So yes, we need to work on that. But the hospitality industry, the resort industry has suffered tremendously because, of course, we haven't been allowing tourists into the country. We have $1 billion set aside on top of the resources that we've already provided to them through the wage benefits, through CEBA, through all of the other supports that we put in place during the pandemic. That remains I guess, the most vulnerable sector, but it does basically involve the sector that we intend to focus on to make sure that we bring it back.
Microphone 3.
I totally agree with most of them. The tourist sector has been hit hard, but I think that actually that we need to remove the red tape, which is making it difficult for small businesses to do their filing. That is something that I'm going to work very hard to ensure that it's simple for them to even apply for grants and to fill in their taxes. There's a lot of red tape that is making their life really difficult. So that is something that I'm going to work closely with any party, any MP who is in Ottawa, to ensure that small businesses, any legislation passed, should think about small businesses. There should always be something there that will support most small businesses moving forward, because I think small businesses need to be part of the new economy that will build moving forward.
Thank you. You may be seated. And group number 3, including Tamara, you may proceed to your microphones, please. What is your perspective on the labor situation that businesses are facing? Do you think it's a problem? What is your party? What are you going to do about it? Microphone 1.
Thank you very much. Labor problem is huge. I've been knocking on the doors since August 6th in my riding almost daily from morning to evening. One of the things I hear across Surrey Fleetwood is that there's a labor shortage problems, and also people are telling me there's many people, they're getting $2,000 per month, so they're deciding not to go to work. And then people are upset about it. They say that other people who need to be helped with the COVID-19 shortages of the funds they had, the problems they had, they are not being helped. I think we have to make sure that we train our workers here so can fulfill the jobs they need. Also give incentives people to go to work rather than staying at home. And that is why our government is going to work with small business to give them incentive. They will give part of the salaries back to them so the people will be actually working, then getting paid rather than sitting at home. And we have $1.3 trillion debt. We can't afford wasting taxpayers' money and passing those debt to our children and grandchildren. Thank you.
Microphone 2.
Thank you. As we all know, in fact, everywhere we go, there is a far higher sign. And what we are going to do is we are going to make sure the labor market that we have, the particular shortage, can only be met now is if we bring more immigrants. And that is what we are going to do, is we are bringing in 1.2 million immigrants over the next 3 years. And we are going to make sure that we provide training to Red Seal, the different trades and technical people that we are shortage of. That is where we got to put our resources in. But at the same time, $10 a day daycare that we are bringing in, the other party, the Conservative Party, want to repel that. This is going to help women go back to work and empower women. And these are the type of policies that we got to bring in to make sure that we are able to sustain when it comes to workforce.
Microphone 3.
So again, the Conservatives have this fantastic Canada Recovery Plan that I encourage everybody to go and take a look at it. It's very readable. It has an index, and you can follow along, pick out the things you're most interested in. But when it comes to jobs, we need to get 1 million jobs back. We need to get people back at work so that they're making a paycheck and paying taxes. How are we going to do that? There were some great incentives. We're going to be encouraging apprenticeship training programs. I can't remember the dollar figure, but there's a big dollar figure. And I know KPU has a fantastic apprenticeship program that I'm assuming we're going to be able to access this and get more people learning new trades. We do need plumbers. We do need electricians. We need people in all of these jobs. So that was one. There's also, I believe it's a $10,000 retraining loan that's going to be available. You can choose for yourself. What is that new job you want to do? You can retrain. And this, we got to get people working so that we can get them paying taxes again.
Thank you so much. You may be seated. So we'll proceed to group number 1. Please proceed to the microphones. When we're talking about pursuing economic development in our nation, of course, in conjunction and collaboration with the provincial government, the municipal governments, what is your perspective on creating jobs through the resource sector, LNG, mining, forestry? Tell me your party's perspective about that. Microphone 1.
The Conservative government, if it comes to power, will be definitely looking at the resource sector. Pipelines will be built and jobs created, and so we will get our fossil fuels working again, which we are right now bringing from outside the country, and we are paying the price at the gas pumps. When we have the resource naturally in the country, we should put it to better use. Having said that, also there will be emphasis towards bringing the electrical cars in 2030, but we have to remember Canada is a country that needs the natural gas for heating homes and everything else, so you can't give up the fossil fuels overnight. We have to give, a weightage towards that and not live in a utopian world hoping that everything will be fine once we have electrical cars and heating our homes electrically, so fossil fuels. Going back to infrastructure building, yes, the infrastructure bank under the Liberals has done nothing in the last 4 years, and billions of dollars have sat parked over there.
Microphone 2. Thank you so much. Microphone 1.
Thank you. We have a very robust plan to transition into a green economy. We recognize Canada as a natural resource country, but we got to do it cleaner. We got to do it more efficiently. We're going to be helping fund specifically the aluminum smelters, concrete plants, and others to make them more greener, make them more energy efficient, so that when we make concrete, when we make aluminum, we do it in a cleaner and a greener way. When it comes to our renewable resources like forestry, we have a robust plan. We've been giving them incentives, giving them research grants and other funding so that we can make our renewable resources renewable long-term, make new products out of them. We have already gone to a better building code, which can now actually have 6-story construction done with the same wood products. We will continue doing this. We'll continue to help those in the oil and gas sector transition into green economy jobs and make sure that industry is also a lot greener, and that is our goal.
Thank you. Microphone 3.
This is one of the biggest things for the Green Party and for everyone here. We've seen the devastating effects of not managing our resources properly, not transitioning to a greener economy. The fires, the people dying, towns wiped out because we continue to use fossil fuels and we continue to waste money on pipelines and things that we have to transition those workers to a better type of job. I just heard the other day about chips being such scarce, they don't even build them in Canada. That's the type of job. All the pipeline workers being able to transition because they have to know fire and safety to be on an oil rig or oil pipelines, those type of workers could be helping prevent the forest fires that we're having to experience this past summer. They could be working and planning and preparing the grounds so that we don't go through this again.
Thank you so much. You may be seated. Group number 2. Please proceed to the microphones. Put your microphone covers on. We have 1 more hour, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. Your question for those of you at the microphones is, again, talking about economic development. What is your perspective on ensuring success on the international trade stage, creating global business connections and opportunities for local businesses? Microphone 1.
I think we are the gateway for Indo-Pacific region, and it is very, very imperative that we create connections with the countries like China, India, and the countries that are in that part. We have tremendous opportunity. If we can have a good partnership with those countries, I think we'll be able to create a lot of jobs, and I think our business will grow. I myself, I'm into garments business, and we bring in a lot of garments from countries like India and Bangladesh. So I think we have to explore all those areas and making sure that we can create our partners and have our businesses grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Microphone 2.
When we talk about the economy, I think we also need to look at the other factors. We need to look at the environment. We need to look at the social health of the world. So the trade deals that we strike with other nations need to be deals that are in character with who Canada is. We need to make sure that human rights are respected. We need to make sure that decent wages are paid. Otherwise, it becomes a race to the bottom. And we're always looking for the cheapest goods from the cheapest country, and it doesn't bother us that people suffer in the making of this. So we need an ethical, economic, social, and environmental approach to our international trade so that we're lifting the whole world and not taking advantage of one section just to offer ourselves cheap goods here at home. We can do better than that, and that's what the Liberal government has been doing for the last 6 years.
Microphone 3.
Yes, I agree again with him on that, because it has to be ethical. It has to be with countries that are respecting human rights. This is very, very important. And also we have to look at new ways of creating jobs as well. We need to look at new green jobs that we can create here that will pay a lot of people in partnership with our counterparts like in America and other countries that are meeting up certain standards. So I think that is the way to go. I think that also we have to open up to other markets which we've not reached before, like in Africa and other places, because there's a lot of opportunities there, and they are as well open to working with our government. And these are areas that we've ignored for too long, and they can be very, very useful and essential into us rebounding into a new economy. We need that.
Thank you so much. You may be seated, and we will proceed to group number 3. Tamara, you're included in group number 3. Thank you. So my question to you is, what do you think is the federal government's role in Surrey's public safety transition from an RCMP force to a municipal police force? Microphone 1.
I think the crime is a huge problem in Surrey and Greater Vancouver area and Toronto area. I think we have to have more police officers. We have to make sure that there's enough officers available to provide the service to our residents. I mean, Surrey is one of the fastest growing city, and it's the second largest city in British Columbia. But sadly enough, we haven't had enough police officers for a long time. Conservatives have committed that we will have more than 200 more RCMP officers committed for this, and we need to work with the provincial government, and we'll work with the municipality and federal government. And myself, as MLA, worked with the 3 different prime ministers and also provincial government for 12 years and all the cities. We need to work together to find solutions. And Surrey, the federal government can work with them to provide more resources so gangsters are put in jail rather than sort of saying there's no minimum sentences. People caught with the guns, they should be spending at least a few 2 years in jail, which federal liberals had took them off from there. Thank you.
Microphone 2.
Thank you, Nita. When it comes to public safety, this has been a top priority for my colleagues, Liberal colleagues in Surrey and across British Columbia, and in fact, the Liberals. You know, when it comes to working with the local government, and that is exactly the model that we took. We provided $7.5 million directly to the city of Surrey to deal with, to help 4,700 youth that might be at risk getting into the gangs. 2,100 are already helped. This is the type of coordination we have to do, and we are going to commit $1 billion if provinces and cities want to ban handguns. Moving forwards, if we have to put more police officers on the ground, and that is where we will be committing resources, just like a forensic lab we have.
Microphone 3.
So the Conservatives are absolutely find this imperative that we help out wherever we can when it comes to safety of citizens. So regardless of which level of government we're talking about, we want to make sure that there's enough services, there's enough support. We've talked about in our plan that we want to make sure also that there is a way to stop the gun smuggling and the drug smuggling. We need to provide enough funding so that these things can be pushed back on. We also need to make sure that the youth are receiving different services in regards to keeping them out of gangs, keeping them out of these challenging situations that they get themselves in. So federally, we're going to make sure that we are supporting the local police. Whatever they need is we're there. We want to make sure that they have what they need.
Thank you so much. You may be seated. And we'll proceed with group number 1 next. To the microphone, please. What is your perspective on, a third of Surrey's population is under the age of 19. There are future workforce or future entrepreneurs. How is your government going to support youth to ensure positive and productive pathways from an entrepreneurship as well as a career perspective? Microphone 1.
Well, it's more directed towards the provincial government, but I'll attempt to answer this question. The federal government will provide, enough resources and funding into, wherever it's needed, and proposals are sent forward for community projects, and they have earmarked that money to keep, especially in the opioid crisis, where they're going to earmark $1 million towards, creating 1,000 beds and about 50 community centers to keep our youth away from that and, put them towards productive programs. And funding will be provided for that. But other than that, I mean, proposals when they come forward, and I will definitely be the first in the line to work hard to bring that funding to Surrey if needed be.
Thank you. Microphone 2.
Thank you. Right from when children actually get born and raised, so we've doubled the Canada Child Benefit in Surrey Centre. I think I give $109 million annually, and that's almost the same for Surrey Newton and Surrey Fleetwood. We've doubled that program. It's tax-free. It helps youth and families raise their children, and I've seen it uplift kids out of poverty. Going forward after that, we've been able to get the Canada Summer Jobs Program. We doubled it coming in 2015. We now hire over 1,000 youth for the summers in Surrey, all across Surrey, over 200 in my riding alone, 250, and if you spend that all around, you'll see it's over 1,000. When it comes to actually their post-secondary positions, we've actually added spaces, given infrastructure dollars like record levels than any other city has. We've doubled the apprentice program, and we doubled the grant program when you apply for a student loan. So this is the way we're supporting. We will continue to support, and this is going forward in the next mandate as well.
Microphone 3.
This is one of the parts in the Green Platform that we've addressed in making tuition, post-secondary tuition, free. To do that would help youth so much. I know I still have debt from my degree, and working with youth for the last 20 years in a coaching capacity, I've talked with them basically daily, planning and doing things, and they need jobs. Small businesses are their primary job to start with. That continuing to expand that, getting them back in work, like the previous question. Right now, a lot of them go to school and they have to juggle school and work, and that sort of thing. Even when they're in post-secondary, doing the same thing. To be able to achieve more, to have that burden off of them, having tuition free would help a lot.
Thank you so much. You may be seated, and we'll proceed to group number 2, please. In Surrey, we have an international docking facility, DP World, previously known as Fraser Surrey Docks. We're part of that Vancouver Fraser Port Authority paradigm. Our supply chains were compromised during the pandemic. How is your government going to ensure that we have the right and appropriate port infrastructure investments, and to ensure at the same time that our supply chains are not compromised locally and internationally? Microphone 1.
I think it's an extremely crucial point because I myself import a lot of goods from overseas, and I have personally suffered because I know there's a huge work that needs to be done, and I think we need to have more fundings to make sure that our supply chain and the importation goes nicely because we depend on a lot of import items. We have to have a good amount of fundings to make sure that these things run smoothly. Thank you.
Microphone 2.
If we look at the total network, there's a remarkable imbalance between our ability to bring containers in and the rail capacity to actually move them in and out of Metro Vancouver. Add to that dreams that people have of more commuter rail, and the challenge for our rail network is going to be considerable. We maybe need to start looking at another port someplace else, like, for instance, building up in Prince Rupert. But when we talk about global supply chains, we also have to think about what happened during the pandemic, because the global supply chains broke down. They let us down. We need to assert our sovereignty over the things that we absolutely must have at home. And, we'll let the world take care of itself, but Canada can look after Canada with things like the vaccines and the PPEs and all the rest of it. So 2 different questions and a couple of different ways of going at it.
Microphone 3.
Yes, again, I agree. If most of you remember, most of the supply chains break out. We had ships that got blocked. This is what actually happened in so many places that impacted other areas. So I think that actually we need more funding as well to beef up our infrastructure. We also need more new green technology that can protect our systems that we have in place to ensure that they run smoothly. So funding is critical, and new technologies will help us move on to a new, much more greener economy.
Thank you. You may be seated, and we'll proceed to group number 3, please. This is actually a question from the Board of Trade's Women in Business team. You know, during the pandemic, women had to go back home, take care of the kids. We've gone back to the 90s in terms of being able to participate in the workforce as entrepreneurs because our responsibilities are great. How is your government, how is you, if you get elected, how are you going to support women in the workplace? Do you think it's an issue, first of all? And what are you going to do to support women? Microphone 1.
Thank you very much, Anita. That's a very important question because with COVID-19, most people suffer were women and young Canadians. And we need to make sure they all come back and participate fully in our workforce and our businesses. Conservatives had a business plan, and our plan is on conservative.ca, which is a very detailed plan that talks about everything we're going to do, including the work with providing more resources for small business can be successful. A lot of the women were in small businesses. Also, we want to help create more jobs, and we want to make sure our economy is the best and the strongest possible. If that economy is strong, it's going to help everybody. If the economy is not strong, it's not going to help anybody. But we want to make sure we provide more resources to the businesses, especially the small business, so they can hire more people and more the women can be participating in that. And this is why we have a child care where we're going to be providing funding to them, and which is refundable. They can use that child care funding and let somebody else look after wherever they need to look after. Thank you.
Microphone 2.
Thank you, Anita. Anita, first of all, we're going to make sure that women have the access to sexual health and reproductive strategies and technologies moving forward. And also, within the first year, we will reduce the cost of childcare by 50%. In the next 5 years, we will have a childcare $10 a day for women to go back into the workforce. And also, the secondary earners will be able to write off $14,000. And most importantly, we are going to put $147 million into a women entrepreneur strategy, so they are the ones that can be trained in red seals and different trades to be part and parcel of the workforce in Canada.
Microphone 3.
During COVID, I had the opportunity of meeting some amazing small business women owners of small businesses, especially independent travel agencies. And these women have been impacted so tremendously hard. They have worked for the entire time of the pandemic for nothing. And they have not even been able to access much of the programs because of the way that the programs were so poorly targeted for them. And I've been just advocating as much as I possibly could to make sure that these women who work for themselves, who are trying to keep all of their customers happy, even though they're not getting paid. And so I wanted to make sure that their voice got heard. So I did that very much during the pandemic at Parliament, at Finance Committee. And I think that the programs that we are putting forward in our Secure the Future for Canada Recovery Plan, they really do work towards making sure that these programs are targeted so these ladies can get back to work.
Thank you so much. You may be seated. And we'll proceed with group number 1. Back to the microphones, please. Surrey has the most number of manufacturers in British Columbia. Canada really needs to strengthen its manufacturing capacity, not only related to vaccine production, but so many other different types of manufacturing to create those good quality jobs. What are you going to do to support our manufacturing businesses and to grow our manufacturing sector? Microphone 1.
Canada's Conservatives have seen from the pandemic firsthand that we didn't even have necessary stockpiles of, the necessary equipment required at the beginning of the pandemic. And everything was made in China. That was the learning lesson. And based on that and the recovery program, they have absolutely going to give incentives in a big way, which is outlined in the recovery. I don't have it, by heart, the whole recovery plan, but definitely incentives to internal manufacturing. Everything will be made in Canada and less reliance worldwide from other countries, apart from trade. Manufacturing will be in Canada, and all incentives, all plugs pulled, will be provided to assist internal manufacturing. Never again are we going to face that situation as a country where we are reliant for even necessary health equipment.
Thank you. Microphone 2.
Thank you. I think our plan is working. We're very proud of the manufacturing sector here. Surrey has not only created a lot of jobs, but we've created good quality jobs. And it is because of that that the first new regional development agency ever to be created in 35 years is going to be in British Columbia, and I'm proud to say it's going to be right here in Surrey. That development agency is going to fund, it's going to empower new innovation, new skills, new jobs. It's going to have a $110 million annual budget for a full budget of $550 million. It'll be headquartered, the first ever federal agency to be headquartered in Surrey. It is the second only federal agency ever to be headquartered in British Columbia. The first was done under a Liberal government, Discover Tourism, Discover Canada, and now the second one will be this regional development agency. And watch how businesses grow when they get that empowerment, they get that funding, and our post-secondary institutes get that funding from it, just like the quantum computing announcement that was done for Surrey's SFU. Thank you.
Microphone 3.
This would basically start with the research, communicating with the people who are manufacturing things now and looking for the missing markets. Like I alluded to earlier, the electronic chip industry right now, we're missing that in Canada. And so many products are being held up because we don't have that. Vaccines were alluded to. We're depending on other countries to have vaccines. There's so many missing markets that we need to look into and find out what's missing and basically communicate with people who want to get started in Surrey, as well as putting the programs in place so that it will be easy for them to be able to develop and grow their industry and grow and support other businesses.
Thank you so much. You may be seated, and we'll proceed with group number 2. A third of Surrey's land base is agricultural. Food security, so important. We found that out, especially during the pandemic. What are you going to do to support our agricultural sector and also look at agricultural innovation? Microphone 1.
This is a very, very important sector because as we have seen during the pandemic, the food cost has gone up. So I think it is extremely important that we empower our people who are actually responsible behind this. So we have to support our farmers. We have to support all the agricultural sectors and provide all the necessary support that they need to make sure that our food costs are within the control so that we don't, if we face this kind of problem in the future, we have to make sure that our supply chain stays well. So it is, as I mentioned, that our farmers need to be supported. We have to provide all the supports and infrastructure that need to make sure that we have our farmers and these sectors are safe and they can provide us the support that we need. Thank you.
Microphone 2.
Part of my answer goes back to the previous question about industry. We have a shortage of land. And every time we allocate a piece of land for one purpose, such as residential, it's not there available to put a factory on or to grow food on. Obviously, some pieces of property aren't very good for growing food, like my front yard. But nonetheless, The federal government, I think, should be working with municipalities, with the provincial government to have an overall strategy for the use of land across Metro Vancouver and up the Fraser Valley. We have put hundreds of millions of dollars into supporting innovation in agriculture. We, of course, rely and support supply management because it isn't just a matter of ensuring that that sector, those sectors, prosper. There are also really important social aspects in our community. The family farm still means something in Canada, and the Liberal government continues to support it for that reason.
Microphone 3.
Yes, I agree. Our local farmers and family farmers need to be supported. That is something that the Greens have in their plank. As well, we want to ensure that actually that those small farmers are on the table. The reason why we are seeing the spike in prices is because small farmers are not as well represented there. Now you have just executive and very big companies which are there to dictate what the prices should be. Next to that, what the Greens are proposing is that we should support small farmers by ensuring that actually that they could get loans and to produce more food, which we need. And also, the elephant in the room is global warming. How do we expect to get food and everything if we are not able to take care of our environment? You're seeing the droughts in the prairies, you're seeing the fires, you're seeing everything. So how do we expect to deal with the food supply without that?
Thank you so much. You may be seated, and we'll proceed to group number 3 to the microphones, please. We all know that we're facing a labor shortage, that every single person matters. What is your perspective on a new term that has been utilized called the longevity economy, ensuring that our seniors are a part of our workforce and that they're also participating as entrepreneurs? Microphone 1.
Thank you very much, Anita. Very good question. Conservative business plan, economic plan that is available on the website. It goes very much in detail in that. One of the things we have to make sure not only we find jobs and training for our young kids, we also, the people who are going out of one job to another, we have training program for them, as well as seniors. In old days, everybody at 65 used to retire, not really participate. Nowadays, people are working to 70, 75 because of choice, and some are working because the prices of the housing is going too high, pricing of the food is getting too high, inflation is too high. We have to make sure we find incentives for seniors if they need to be trained, like we have said, that they can get funding available for training, and also have the tax rate very reasonable so they are not taxed so high that they have no incentive to work. We want to make sure our seniors have a choice. If they want to stay retired, they can stay retired without having to pay very high prices, but at the same time, if they want to work, let them work. Thank you.
Microphone 2.
Certainly, when it comes to seniors, they paid their dues all of their life, and particularly when I got involved in politics and got elected, Deep knows my dad was the one that, in fact, was retired, and he came back into helping me running my business day-to-day activities, and we got to support seniors when it comes to recreational facilities, the health wise that we can support them. On the other hand, as Dave said, that we should have additional programs, that we should be able to train them in the new technologies, whether it's a computer or whether it's the green economy.
Microphone 3.
In this day and age when we're really struggling for laborers, seniors are a huge portion of the solution. So what we want to be able to do is make sure that seniors are not getting their pensions clawed back because they go back to work. So if you check again, the Canada Recovery Plan on the website, the Conservative website, you'll find the information as to how we're going to make sure that people are not penalized for going back to work, and especially seniors. We really need them back in the workforce. I know that in our own business, we absolutely loved working with them. They have so much wisdom to give us, And having them on site, it was fantastic because they were able to not only be a positive influence on the people working, but also just out in the community, they were able to be a fantastic representation of our business. So we want to get those seniors working, but we don't want to penalize them for getting out there and working.
Thank you so much. You may be seated. And we're going to proceed to our last round of questions before concluding remarks. So group number 1, you're back at the microphone. We know that Surrey is a border city, and Surrey matters when it comes to that border opening and closing. What is your perspective on the current border opening and closing paradigm that we're facing in the middle of the pandemic? Microphone 1.
Canada's Conservatives have been pushing, even while in opposition, for the responsible opening of the border. It is also some resistance from the American side that they've not allowed, for that to open. So, but there has been constructive dialogue on that, and hopefully dates have been set and pushed forward, and hopefully, if Conservatives come to power, definitely taking into consideration the pandemic situation, it will be responsibly open because unification of families and businesses are being affected because of the cross-border, the towns that are there and also the Canadians. So we are hoping at some point that the border will open as soon as the Conservatives come to power. That is if they do. Thank you.
Microphone 2.
Sure. I think the border is a very important part, especially since we have one of the largest border crossings. The one thing that our government has done during that time is kept the border open for businesses so that businesses and imports and exports and our truck drivers and our essential workers can go back and forth, bring goods freely in both directions, and that has been maintained. However, we will not sacrifice the safety and the well-being of our citizens, and for that reason, we've only done any border policies based on the consultations of our health authorities, whether that's Dr. Tam, in consultation with Dr. Bonnie Henry and others from the provinces. Once that consultation has been done, based on the data they've given, we've only made our borders open accordingly. And currently, they're only open for those that have double vaccinations and 14 days subsequently, and then they're able to come into our country. We will do the same going forward to ensure the safety and well-being of our citizens.
Microphone 3.
The borders were closed, as everyone knows, because of COVID, and they never really were closed because, like he alluded to, there's still businesses traveling back and forth and that sort of thing, and now they're basically open for one-way traffic, but we're not seeing a decline in COVID right now. We're seeing an increase in it, and we need to, like I was alluded to before, we need to open them responsibly so that people's health and safety are our first priority, because the longer we continue with this COVID and the pandemic, the more struggles people are, the more lives are going to be lost. We need to do it responsibly. We need to consult with people that sometimes the health authorities can give you good advice, but I don't rely on all the health authorities because they disagree with each other sometimes. So basically, we need to research what the best policy is, and right now, having it free-flowing back and forth is not, to me, a good way to go.
Thank you so much. You may be seated. And group number 2, to the microphones, please. What is your perspective on increasing the threshold of the small business deduction limit?
I think we have to consult with everybody, to all the small businesses and all the small business owners. I don't want to say any particular figure, but I think it is essential to find out. After having the discussion with everybody, we can come out to that point. Thank you.
Microphone 2.
I would rather talk about having those businesses make money, because only if you're making money do deductions actually matter. And that's really something that, if you look at Fleetwood Port Kells, good example, along the Fraser Highway corridor, we have 9 more businesses open today than we had before the pandemic. Why is that? It's because our government stepped forward not only with the fundamental supports they needed during the pandemic, but things like the Canada Child Benefit continue to support local business. So, sure, we can talk about additional deductions as we go forward, but let's start where it's most important. Let's start with those businesses making money and prospering and having something to deduct when the time comes.
Microphone 3.
Well, I look at it this way. I think that actually we have to do a kind of a robust consultation moving forward, because actually we have to consult with the small business owners before making that decision. It will be wrong as well to just throw out a figure there, because I think it's a good thing, but I think on this one, we will have to default to the businesses, engage in a robust consultation to see how we can come up with a plan which can actually help small businesses moving forward. Because the economy that we have right now is not the one that we used to have last year. So we have to think about that and put it in perspective. So many businesses have closed. A lot of them are suffering. We need to go back to that table, invite them in, talk to them, then we can make a decision.
Thank you. You may be seated. And group number 3. Surrey has the most number of urban Indigenous population within British Columbia. How is your government going to support our Indigenous communities, not only locally, but across the nation? Microphone 1.
Well, thank you very much. Indigenous community are the founders of this country. They were here before anybody else. We had to make sure we helped them. Sadly enough, under the Liberals, they had said that the water boil advisory, they're going to eliminate them when Trudeau got elected in 2015. Basically, a lot of advisories, water bottle advisories are still there. They said they're going to have reconciliation, and there was a report done reconciliation. Most of the report was not implemented. I don't think any of the recommendations has been fully accepted or implemented. We need to work with the First Nations. We want to make sure we give them more support. They can participate fully in the economy. We want to make sure we provide them more resources, even for addiction services or mental health. They have services available. We want to make sure they're culturally sensitive services available so they can succeed just like all the other Canadians can succeed. So we work closely with them. Thank you.
Microphone 2.
We have started the reconciliation process with the Indigenous peoples. As my friend talked about, drinking water advisories. I'm very proud of our government that we lifted over 500 of advisory. And when it comes to British Columbia, all of the advisories in British Columbia has been lifted. And moving forward, we are going to make sure that the inquiry that is already going into murder, women and the girls, and we continue to make sure that they get the justice. Mental health, we are going to invest additional dollars to help the Indigenous communities when it comes to that, and particularly we're putting $250 million to help the Indigenous people with their education when it comes to schooling, and that's the way to.
Microphone 3.
The Conservative Party says that we should be working in a way where we are saying by Indigenous, for Indigenous. We need to respect the fact that, an Ottawa knows best way of doing things is not working. So what we're saying is we want to ensure that the resources are available to our Indigenous communities so that regardless of if it's for mental health, for drug addiction and so forth, that they have the resources, that they themselves are actually creating programs for their own community, rather than us telling them how to spend the money or how to create a program. So we want to respect that, because the more we respect their ability to care for their own community, the better the outcomes will be of these programs.
Thank you very much. You may take your seat. And now we're going to proceed with concluding remarks for 1 minute. And group number 1, back at the microphone for your concluding remarks, please. And we'll start with microphone 1.
Canada's Conservatives have a very good plan, recovery plan, which is, the benchmark of prosperity, according to at least us. And we think it's very good for the country. And please, before you cast your vote, don't be sidetracked by single issues or by, whatever that has upset you over the last little while, look at what is good for Canada and rise above the local issues that impact our communities or what. We have a great plan, and we have learned our vulnerabilities as a nation with this pandemic. And I'm asking you to please take into consideration what the platform the Conservatives have put in place and vote strategically, vote Conservative, vote for Tina Baines.
Thank you. Microphone 2.
I think if you want a fair representation and you want a government that has a proven track record, that helped people when they were most in need, helped keep Canadians safe, had the highest vaccination rate, first and second dose in the world, if you wanted to see somebody who was there for you and had your backs when your businesses were tight, you could not pay your suppliers, you could not pay the rent, they paid it for you, they supported you, and kept the jobs going. If you want a government that kept, of 3 million jobs that were lost, have brought back 2.75 million jobs, and you want that growth of another million jobs, then you'll look for a Liberal government. If you want an economy that grows, that looks at Surrey and says Surrey deserves its fair share, brings regional development agencies here, brings post-secondary funding here, brings 1.2 billion in infrastructure, the most this province has ever gotten in one project, then you must vote for a Liberal federal government, and you'll vote for Randeep Sarai. Thank you.
Microphone 3.
First, I'd like to thank the Surrey Board of Trade and the partners for putting on this event, and all of you for attending. We appreciate giving the avenue to speak to you and to let you know that we're here to communicate, especially, well, in my point of view, I am. Because basically my 3 points are I listen, I learn, and I act. The biggest part of that is act. Okay, I want to communicate with Fleetwood Port Kells, and I'd like you all to vote green in Fleetwood Port Kells because I will continue the communication. I won't wait for election time to talk to the people. I will be communicating with you all the time. I want to represent you in Ottawa, and I want to get your voice heard and make sure that what is best for Fleetwood Port Kells also is what is best for Canada, following best practices, doing the research, and making sure we put policies in play that will be acted on, not just promised.
Thank you so much. You may be seated. Group number 2, please proceed to the microphones for your concluding remarks. And we'll begin with microphone 1.
In order to democracy to sustain, change is essential. I think it is time for a change. Surrey Newton is one of the most potential places that we have in Surrey, and it has not been represented properly. It is a pivotal moment to have a change, and I am ready to take the leadership. Vote Conservative, vote for Syed Mohsin. Thank you.
Microphone 2.
I'm collecting a thought here. You know, the Liberals long had a slogan, free enterprise with a social conscience. We've talked a lot tonight about the free enterprise system. The Surrey Board of Trade is all about nurturing that. But Liberals know that the free enterprise system can't do everything. It can't lift a child out of poverty. It can't save the planet from destroying itself. But that's what Liberal governments are for, to come in and fill those gaps where the free enterprise system can't. I love the old expression, you know, some people see the world as it is and say, why? Other people see the world as it could be and say, why not? The Liberal Party of Canada is the why not party. We will do the work. We will do the heavy lifting. I put 6 years into serving Fleetwood Port Kells. And did you drop your teeth? Okay. And I'm certainly well prepared, well organized, ready to go to keep it going.
Microphone 3.
Yes, I think that actually it's time for change. We've tried the 3 before. What has changed? Just ask yourself that when you want to vote. Think about that. And also, one of the reasons why I'm looking at this election as being really so important, because we have to look at the future. We have to think about what we want to be post this pandemic. That is very, very important. Think about that when you vote. Think about it. Are you changing what you've been doing before, or are you moving into a new place where you can build, which is way much more inclusive, which is way much more supportive, and into a future where we can build those new green jobs and support community members? I'm coming from that place, and I need your vote as your Green candidate in Surrey Centre.
Thank you so much. You may be seated. And group number 3 for your concluding remarks, please. And we will begin with microphone 1.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate all of you being here, sticking with us for all this time. I think the most important part is you want to see who are your MPs going to be. Is he and she's going to be available, accessible? You have a record with me. When I was MLA for 12 years, anybody could find me through my cell phone, my regular coffee meetings for 12 years, or through my office. I worked hard for you to make sure we brought the Simon Fraser University campus. Over 10,000 students go here in Surrey now. We built the Surrey Memorial Hospital Emergency Tower, which is the largest emergency center in Canada. We put the Jim Patterson Outpatient Hospital in Surrey, which is a day surgery hospital. We built the Cornell University campus in Cloverdale for trade and technology. We built the Portman Bridge, widest bridge in the world. We built the South Fraser Perimeter Road. We built many of the highways we improved. If you elect me, I'll make sure I listen to you. I'm available, accessible, do more things for Surrey. So Surrey gets fair share of funding from Ottawa than what it has received up to now. Thank you very much, especially Surrey Fleetwood.
Microphone 2.
Thank you, Anita. As you mentioned, accessibility and accountability is one of the most important factors. I take a pride. I'm very proud of when it comes to accessibility. Even my opponents say that if there is one MP that's available 24/7, that is Sukh Dhaliwal. When it comes to accountability, it is not just the election time you will see Sukh Dhaliwal here on this mic. Sukh Dhaliwal has been with people all the time for over 2 decades, and I'm very proud. And when it comes to national, there are 2 choices, stark choices. On one side, we have a liberal government that is committed to having gun laws that helps public safety, childcare, $10 a day. On the other hand, we know the government that want to repeal the gun legislation and also want to repeal the child.
Thank you. Microphone 3.
We have been sailing in some pretty rough waters due to COVID, and we actually have some rough waters ahead. And the way that we're going to navigate those rough waters is having good leaders who actually understand how to navigate. So if you take a look at our plan, we want to get 1 million people back to work getting paychecks. And how are we going to do that? We've got a whole bunch of different ways we're going to do that. That's in our plan. Please check out the recovery plan on the Conservative website. We need to ensure that our economy grows so that we can continue to afford all the services that we have been receiving, but that we also are able to increase productivity. We need to make sure that our businesses are growing. We have a ton of things in the recovery plan. Please check it out. It's hard for me to remember all of the different things, but it's a fantastic document. Check it out. It's got a plan, and we need a plan.
Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, our candidates this evening, let's give them a round of applause. So on behalf of the Surrey Board of Trade and the South Asian Business Association, advance voting begins this Friday into the weekend. Election day is September 20th. Remember to vote because Surrey matters. Thank you so much to our presenting sponsor, the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board, our media sponsor, the Surrey Now Leader. Ladies and gentlemen, make it a great rest of your night and into the week.